Hey guys, Dan Carr here from ShutterMuse.com. Today we're going to take a look at a really cool little lens. Canon 40mm f2.8 STM. Now I'm actually going to remove the lens caps here from what most people call the 40mm pancake. As you can see, this is a tiny lens. It's not much bigger than the body cap when you have it on your camera, and it's certainly not much more noticeable. It's actually the second time I've owned this. I bought the first one when I was on a travel trip to Europe a few years ago when it first came out, and I loved using it. But I brought it back home and I put it on my shelf in the office, and it gathered dust for a few months, and I actually sold it because I didn't think I was getting much use out of it. But then an opportunity came up this month to do another trip to Europe where part of that trip was going to be vacation time in Portugal. And I just wanted something super lightweight, something that wasn't bulky, something that wasn't going to burden me with my camera gear. But of course, being a photographer, I always wanted to have something pretty decent with me to take a photo. My mind came straight to the 40mm pancake again, and I kicked myself for having sold it the first time. So I went out and I bought another one. Now what that tells me about this lens is it doesn't really fit in my workflow for my professional work. I gravitated towards my big zoom lenses, 24 to 70, 70 to 300, 200 to 400, all these things for my professional work. I never reached for the 40mm pancake. But every now and again you do want something that's really lightweight, and especially if you're a photographer who otherwise has a lot of heavy gear, then this is a perfect vacation lens or a perfect travel lens when you're between different jobs. It really is a great, it's a fun lens, you know. I know a few people that have this lens, and when you ask them about it, you ask them, hey, what do you think of the 40mm pancake? And they all say, oh, that's a fun little lens. That's a word that gets used all the time. So I'm really glad that I bought this lens again. I posted on my website that I had another one. A few people asked me to comment on this versus 50mm lenses. We'll start with the 51.8, you know, the nifty 50. This is about $100 more. It retails for $200 to $225. The nifty 50 is just over $100, but this is leagues ahead in terms of build quality. The 50 is a plastic, you know, it feels like a kid's toy, whereas this feels like a really nicely built piece of kit. Everything, the zoom ring is super smooth. It's got a nice metal mount on it. It feels really well built, far better than it ought to for a couple of $100, I think. And the same can be said about the image quality. The photos are far sharper than they deserve to be for a lens that is so cheap, in my opinion. Compared to the 51.4, this is a much newer lens, and so in fact I think this is slightly better image quality. Certainly in terms of chromatic aberration, this is much better controlled. But it's really hard to compare those lenses. I think those two in particular are very different. f1.4 is so much faster than f2.8. And, you know, if you're using an f1.4 lens, you're doing that because you're always indoors. You're shooting weddings or some other kind of indoor scenario. And I think that's a different usage. f2.8 works really well for a general situation, something where you're indoors and outdoors. You know, on my 5D Mark III, I have no qualms about using ISO 4000. And with f2.8 and ISO 4000, I get a good shutter speed when I'm indoors. So I wouldn't really compare it to those ones. It's also the 51.4 is more expensive than this. So, you know, leave some comments below, and hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel for plenty more of this stuff in the future. Thanks for watching.